All right, so since we just restarted the recording, everyone needs to smile and wave at the camera. Yay! All right, so welcome. My name is Stephen Friedrich. I'm a pastor at Peace Lutheran Church in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I'm also our Synod's chair for our Synod Guatemala team. So officially, welcome to everybody. If you've put your name and where you're from in the chat, thank you so much. If you haven't, please put it in there. We're going to keep people muted throughout the presentation, but if you have a question, please drop it in the chat and we'll make sure we ask those questions at the appropriate times throughout the presentation. We want to give a special welcome to Pastor Karn and to Diego Gil from Guatemala. We are so glad that you all are with us and for making time in your day to be with us. So thank you so much. Two things to start off with. First, just a brief story from two of our congregations about how we're connected in this partnership. The congregation where I serve, Peace Lutheran Church in Knoxville, Tennessee, is new to this partnership. They had heard about it a little bit here and there, but when I became a pastor up here at Peace, they were like, oh, let's get involved, let's connect with this. So what we did is we got a group of 3 or 4 people together to become a partnership team. And that group has met a couple times so far. And we've said, hey, we want to learn more about Guatemala. We want to learn more about the ministry and what's going on. And we want to share that with our congregation. It seemed like a great first couple steps. The team said, we also want to participate in the Guatemala Sunday our Synod is going to do this year on May 1st. And they also said, let's send a letter of introduction to Guatemala. So the group put together a great letter saying, here's who we are, here's some questions, and we sent it as a way to begin the relationship and the partnership. So that's one example of what one congregation is doing in our Synod. And we also wanted to lift up another example from another congregation, from our friends at Epiphany Lutheran Church. And Pastor Chris, can I call on you? Are you the designated Epiphany person to speak to what you guys do in the partnership?
I've also got back here Congregational Council President Lisa Denny. I got over here Stephanie Boylan. She is our treasurer from Church Council. So we're a viewing party of 3. When I got to Epiphany in 2014, there was a practice of, as they call it, first fruits giving. Epiphany has some language that I didn't quite understand, and so I asked questions. And first fruits giving is about benevolence and how it is that this church seeks to live as an example of a generous congregation. And so Epiphany's first checks that are always written are to our benevolence partners. And so we obviously support the Synod, we support Georgia Tech Campus Ministry, obviously ELAG, we support Nova Sway with camps, and a couple other local organizations that we share our benevolence with. Those are the first checks we write before we pay salaries, before we pay mortgages. The first checks we write are always to the organizations that we do ministry with. And the hope is that we set the example. We walk the talk, I guess is a way to say it. And when I first got here, Epiphany was in that transitional phase at about $100,000 in the red. And so when I got here, I had a full head of hair, and then a month at Epiphany just did me in. I'm joking. And we continued to always make sure that the first checks were written were support of other ministries. And Epiphany's always been able to find a way to pay our bills, to have vibrant and exciting ministry. And that's just part of our identity, part of who we are. Believe it's important to have a global partner. And when it was time for us to have a new global partner, we wanted to be a part of things that were going on here in the Synod. And so we're excited to work with ELAG. And Lori's been down there once. And we're looking forward to getting down there and building some relationships and some partnerships and connecting with folks.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks for sharing about the ministry and the way that you guys put this partnership first in your finances. That's a really beautiful thing that that y'all at Epiphany do. So thank you. And thank you for that example, and for your congregations, all of you, for your generosity and the support. It's a really beautiful thing. So we lift up those two examples from different congregations, how different congregations are engaged in this partnership at the moment, and maybe that sparks something for your congregation as well. Now, without further ado, we're going to turn it over to Pastor Karen and to Diego, and to receive their presentation. Let's see if we can make this work well. All right, so Pastor Karen, I think we've got you ready. Let me see if I can pin you here to make you nice and front and center. All right.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's very good to see your faces and to be with you one more time. And we are grateful for technology that allow us to get to your homes, your churches, and be with you. We really miss you. We haven't seen you in a while, and the Lutheran Center is so quiet. So we hope that soon you are going to be back here. We are going to give you a short revision of what ILAG is and Guatemala is, to put you in context why we are ILAG in Guatemala. To begin with, ILAG stands for Iglesia Luterana Agustina de Guatemala. And we believe it's important to remember why we do what we do. In this case, ministry in Guatemala, supported by the Southeastern Synod since 2007. I will try to give you a short concept of how ILAG started. My parents were the founders of ILAG in 1991. I want to share that my parents were pastors since 1969, and they served in rural Guatemala since then. ILAG started with the vision of strengthening people's lives through education in every way: formal education, informal education, or technical education. And first of all, preaching and teaching about God's grace. ILAG started in the process of signing the peace accords, accompanying the refugees in Mexico to come back to Guatemala. For that reason, ILAG is present in rural Guatemala. And I will give you more information in the next slide so you can have a better idea why ILAG exists. Now we will go to the slide of our context. And our context is complex, as many contexts all over the world. Guatemala is a multicultural, multi-ethnic, and multilingual country. We have 22 different languages in 22 different Mayan groups. Religion or church is very important everywhere in Guatemala: faith, worship, and preaching. Adding to it, Guatemala experienced a 36-year civil war that ended in 1996 with the signing of the peace accords. And people who were refugees in Mexico came back to Guatemala. An important part of this, to make sense why ILAG serves in rural Guatemalan community, is that ILAG was part of the process of the signing of the peace accords as part of the civil society and accompanied refugees coming back to Guatemala. The communities came back to Guatemala longing to be in their hometown, returning to our different cultures in Guatemala and land where they knew how to plant, harvest, worship, and so on. And the reality was different. Most of them were sent to the land they were given with no basic services, no schools, and it was not their homeland. I want to mention that Guatemala is also a patriarchal society, and also, as many political system in everywhere in the world, is corrupt. and economical inequity. And despite all of this context, that some of it is so beautiful and some is not, it is part of our history and helps to understand why we are now. Guatemalan people, we are welcoming people, faithful people, and love to share time and whatever we have with others. And you will experience it when you come and visit us. Now we will go to church life. And you can see in this picture that we have a central staff at the Lutheran Center. This is the team that works in the pastoral staff to make all of the ministries happen. We also have 6 teachers in the elementary school that are not, we don't have pictures of them, and we will get them to show you. And most of the Guatemalan population is a believer. The most widespread religion is Christianity, with 95% of people professing it. For this very reason, church life is the most important part in the communities. Preaching, praying for the ill, visiting homes, anniversaries, birthdays, weddings, first communions, baptisms, confirmations are always part of church life. ILAG accompanies 18 churches located in Petén, Alta Verapaz, Ixcán, Quiché, and Guatemala City. ILAG has conformed 3 different regions with 3 different regional coordinators. In the next 3 slides that we are going to show, we wanted to show you from one of the newest church. So we are going to move to the next slide. And this church is 4 years old now. And to have an idea how the congregation started, you can see it, that is very basic facility and faithful congregation. And this church is located in San Pedro Xalarroja. If some of you have visited churches in the past, you remember how La Esmeralda started, how Santa Elena began, and how other churches began. Like this church is the newest church. In the next slide, we will see another church. And we moved from 4 years of being a Lutheran church to 15 years in Santa Elena. And you can tell they have achieved a more formal structure. This is the Church of Santa Elena, 20 de Octubre, and is located in Alta Verapaz, close to Ixcán, that is in Coban. And now we will see 20 years of being a Lutheran church. It looks much more formal, and also we cannot see in this picture, but La Esmeralda, where is located this church, has a gathering area, and they are in the process of building a kitchen, dining room to host about 150 people. I want to mention that they not just only grow in their infrastructure, but they also grow in their knowledge and in their faith, and they grow being a community that in solidarity and working for the commonwealth. And now we are going to move to the next slide, where we are going to talk more about the ministries of ILAG. And ILAG has always focused on education. For that reason, education is the base of all of the ministries at ILAG. We believe and have proved education opens doors for everyone. With education, we get more aware of our context, our history, and the church history, so we can identify opportunities and can make a living. In a country where education is not for everyone, ILAG wants education for everyone to be a reality. I'm going to talk about leadership ministry. You can see in these pictures many different shots of, for example, we have the pastors, and we are consecrating ministries of communion and the world in the tiny one in the left, the corner left down the pictures. And in the top part, we have a council meeting as well. So this is the church life that you can see. We would like to show more pictures, and we can talk all afternoon about church and how we do church in Guatemala. but we are going to be short. And in this program of leadership development, we have trainings for local leaders, local pastor leaders in the communities. So they can preach, they can teach, they can accompany people in their own language, because they most of them speak Quechua. So we gather at the Lutheran Center every other month with a group of leaders who will learn about Lutheran identity, theology, how to read the Bible, study the Bible, and how to do pastoral care in the communities, how to visit homes, how to accompany the ill, how to preach, how to worship, and how to be a faithful servant of God in the communities, as that is very important for them. We have a process where they become ministries of the word, then they become ministries of communion, and then they become deacon pastors, because most of them don't have formal education. So we need to find a way where we can ordain them and give them so they can have the opportunity to serve in the church in a better way, to give sacraments in a community that is so far away. I want to mention that these communities are very far away from hometowns, and it's very difficult for a priest or a pastor to visit them. So for that reason, the Lutheran Church has gotten so strong in these communities, because we are present there, not the pastoral team, but the pastors there are getting the education they need in order to continue the life of the church, and also to be more self-sufficient, not depending on someone to be a church. So this is part of that. And you can see also pictures of the school, pictures of the Milagro women, because we also do theological education in every ministry. So it is connected, because we are a church and we need to empower leaders, women leaders, children leaders, and so that's part of the leadership development ministry. Now we will move to the
Pastor Carr, just for context, you just got back from a trip, a pastoral visit where you went to several congregations. Can you tell us just briefly how long does it take for those visits to go visit some of those congregations?
Yeah, so we were in San Pedro Chalarroja on Monday, so we left the city at 2 in the morning, so we could be there at 10 in the morning. In San Pedro Chalarroja is the closest community now to Guatemala City. Then we spend the day there and the night, so we worship, we do sacraments, we do baptisms, weddings, and communions, and confirmations. And then we stay there for the night. And the next morning, early in the morning, we move to the next community in Nuevo Porvenir and Playita Cerro Alto for 2 more days. And we have to drive about 3 hours from San Pedro Chalarroja to the shore of the river. And then we took a boat that rides on the river for about half an hour. And then we walk uphill about half an hour. And then we get to this community and we do the same thing. We worship with them, they sing, they have the marimba, we have the children ministries. Of course, they are always waiting the candy, the children. We have candy with us all the time. I am a grandma now, and I know how important it is to have candy in your bag. So we have a lot of candy for the kids. And then we have weddings, and we have first communions, baptisms, and the worship service is different here in the communities. It lasts about 3 hours between the singing, the preaching, and the sacraments. It's a very beautiful service. You cannot tell when you're in the service how long it is, but it is all of the singing and the music and the guitars and the drums and the keyboard and just the voices, it praises God, and it's very fulfilling. So then we moved to Cimiento de la Esperanza. It took about 5 hours to get there from one community to Cimiento. And then we moved to San Antonio Ceja. That was the last community we were in. We had weddings too there, and it was beautiful. And then we came back to Guatemala City in about 13 hours traveling. That's pretty much what we do. Every time we visit about 4 or 5 communities. It takes about 7 days.
That's incredible. And we think our territory is spread out a lot here in the Southeastern Synod. Well, that's incredible. Thank you for that context. I appreciate it. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that is okay. Please ask questions. I have a guide here so I can focus because I told you that I can speak the whole afternoon. I am used to have 3-hour services. So please just ask me or pause me or whatever. Now we are going to move to the next slide where we have the Colegio Luterano Agustino de Guatemala. And now we have learned that in the States they call CILAG. We call in Spanish CLAG, but it is CILAG, is Colegio Luterano Agustino de Guatemala. As we have been talking, ILAG has focused on education, and this ministry in the CLAG, we have, it started 30 years ago in a small room just with preschool and first grade. And now we have the preschool and the entire elementary school, 1st to 6th grade. And giving you a little bit of context about the school and education in Guatemala, and we gave you a little context about church life in Guatemala because of the Civil War. Some of the people were displaced to Guatemala City. And when they came here, running away or trying to survive from the Civil War, they settled into ravines. So when they settled into ravines, they had plastic homes or some kind of wooden homes, and they started living here when ILAG was serving in Guatemala. And education wasn't part of their living in Guatemala City. So for that reason and for the need, my mother is a teacher. She was working in a school. So through her school, we started the elementary school in Guatemala City. And this school has given opportunity to many kids that without the school, they couldn't go to have education because most of the education in Guatemala is private. An average income of a family of 6 in Guatemala is about $250, but private education costs $50 per month per child. So if you make numbers, you can see that a family cannot send their kids to school because the public schools, they exist, but they are not enough for all of the people all of the population that we have. 50% of Guatemala, we are 18 million people, 50% are students. So we have a lot of children that need to get education, but our public educational system is not enough to host all of the children. And in the rural area is worst because they have, in some communities we have schools, in some we don't have schools, but CILAG has made a big difference in people's life in these ravines where they live. And we used to have a very small building in a community. And now we had the opportunity with the support of the Synod, the St. Paul Synod, and also the global mission of the ELCA to get a bigger building to host more children. Now we have 173 children enrolled in school. They are still online mode because of COVID. They cannot be in person in the elementary school yet. But this is to give you an idea why the Lutheran school is so important. We also have every year a big party, graduation party for 6th grade, because for many of them, that is the most they are going to get education. So they celebrate 6th grade because they achieve at least to have elementary school. So we are going to the next slide. Now I give the word to Diego.
Hi, everyone. Well, I am the person who is coordinating the SEED program. This program born from the families talking about when you come here to the communities and you sit with the families, you start talking, kind of like it's a moment that you can share the worries, the joys, and the challenges for the family. So this program born from the need of people talking about food. We are an agricultural country. 60% of the population is based in agriculture. We used to plant corn and beans, but with what this program is to have new knowledge, to access new products. With the pandemic, started the worry about markets are closed, communities were closed, we were in their homes. So the bless that families have here in Guatemala is that we have land, we can plant and we can harvest. So now the first year started last year, and this program started as a demonstrative field with the communities, with the leaders. We started to use a system that two women from St. Paul Synod share with us how to prepare the soil. They had the experience in Africa. So we started thinking, well, if this works in Africa, it can work in Guatemala. So now we have families this year that are improving their soil and using organic compost, are producing beets, carrots, onions, cilantro. And in this moment is very important because all the prices of the fertilizers and all the chemicals got very high. Before, it was 250 quetzales, a bag of fertilizer. Now it's 500. So the prices are the double. People started using now compost because it's a saving too. So this year we are very happy because we are achieving our goal, that is producing new products, accessing new seeds, and also passing this knowledge to the future generations, and to value our big blessing that is the soil that we can harvest. So thank you very much. And the goal now is that every family that wants to be in the program can have a garden with vegetables and medicinal plants. Thank you very much.
Now we are going to talk about Milagro Center. Milagro Center was born from the need of the women. In Guatemala, being in a patriarchal society, we are not used to, women are not used to ask for something or express their needs very openly. So when we started traveling and visiting the communities, or we continue this ministry, the women started asking that they wanted something better for their girls. Because in the rural community, I was explaining that education is more difficult. And when they send someone to study, or they can send a child to study, they send the boys to study. And so the girls stay home. And the girls are given in marriage at the age of 14, 15, 16, or 17 years old. And some of the mothers were explaining that they were giving in marriage to a man that sometimes they didn't know and sometimes they didn't want, but they have to do it because it was the only solution for big families. You know that farming requires a lot of people. For that reason, families are big in Guatemala, in the rural area, because they need labor to plant and harvest. But then it is a point where they cannot feed the family, and the solution that they find is not because their parents are mean or bad, but it is a cultural thing. It is something, we live in a survival society. So the need makes us to do some things that otherwise we couldn't do, but then we don't have other option. So the young women were getting married very young and having children since they are 14 years old. So it's they are young women when they have babies. And for that reason, we started listening very careful, because that's what ILAG does. ILAG, we don't come up with ministries that we invent. We don't come with ideas, but we hear, we listen, what people need, and we try to connect those points and make something happen. And for that reason, the Synod has been a blessing in making this happen, making this possible. The Synods have supported when ministries arise in Guatemala, and Milagro started like that because of that need. So now we have 15 young women at the Milagro Center. They have they receive formal education because it is needed, but we focus more in technical education, where they can discover their talents, their gifts, what they like to do. They learn how to speak up. They learn about gender justice. They learn about human rights. They learn that they can express what they want, and they learn how to teach others, because they have to go to their communities back to teach other people what they have learned. So we believe that this ministry in the future will make a difference in our culture in Guatemala by changing some of the traditions we have had for so many years through the women, because we know that women are very important part in church, and also we also give theologia, how do you say theologia?
Like theological education.
Yes, theological education.
Theological education to the women, so they can learn how to be leaders and in the community. We ask, would you like to be a pastor someday? Or would you like to train pastors someday? What would you like to do? So there are questions arise, and everything happens at the Lutheran Center. In the Milagro Center is a learning process. Since they wake up until they go to bed, they are learning all day long with everything they do. And we are very grateful with the Southeastern Synod, who have supported Milagro in the past 4 years. And we are always asked a successful story, what have you achieved? So we have achieved to change some part of the thinking way for a woman, that she wasn't born to have children, just to have children, that she was born to be loved by God and to teach others and to be what they want to be, not to be someone that they were told to be, to think on their own, to do all of the, and discover themselves and to know who they are. Before God and before others, and how we can connect. So this is a ministry who has been a challenge as well, because working with women is not easy in the eyes of others in Guatemala, because we are changing something that we are used to. Change is not always well received for some people, but we know that, and we believe this is a ministry is needed to make a better society in our country. So this is all we have for you. I don't know if you have questions or.
We're so thankful for your presentation. Thank you, Pastor Karen. Thank you, Diego. One follow-up question for you on Malagro, and then we have at least a couple in the chat here. How many of the young women you talk about the formal education, that's like middle school, high school, or college. So how many of those 15 young women are working on their middle school education right now? And how many are working on like high school or college?
Well, we have about 4 young women in elementary school yet, because the ages of the 15 young women are 10 years old up to 23 years old. So we have a variety of ages at the Milagro Center. So we have 4 in elementary school. We have about 6 or 8 women in middle school. And then we have 2 of them in a technical school. And others also go to a technical school, and they receive baking, how to bake, how to sew, and how to start a business in the community.
Wonderful.
There is one, yes.
Wonderful. So it sounds like there's a variety of where the different students are in the learning process.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. let's see here. Another question came in. Diego, I think you may have answered this one, but Dana asked, you said that the children at the elementary school at CELOG are in online school right now. Are they given computers, and do most of the students have internet connections?
Yeah, that was a big challenge. I know nobody in the world was prepared for a pandemic like this one that have lasted for 2 years. For us, being a country that survived a civil war, a big earthquake, that we are 30 years behind development, technical skills are not, or online skills are not our strength. It is something we weren't prepared for that. So when the pandemic began, we started with the children going to, by small groups, going to the teacher to get materials with papers. So on Monday, they were collecting their homework. They took it home and they were trying to do it at home because they have parents that even that don't know how to read and write. So it was a challenge. And then they were delivering the homework on Fridays. So the teachers were waiting in different hours, the students, on Monday and Fridays to collect their homework. And it was the first year of pandemic, was with papers, exchanging notebooks, exchanging textbooks with the teachers and the students. The teachers had to be very creative. It was very interesting to see some teachers coloring and writing down many papers to give to their students. Last year, we started giving the teachers some kind of tablets so they could start teaching online. They have to get trained how to teach online, and they have to learn that, the teachers, and then teach the students and the parents. And some of the parents have smartphones. So most of the children study in the mother's smartphone. They don't have computers. They have internet on their cell phone. And that's the way they study. We wanted to use Zoom, but it's too heavy platform to use in the internet quality we have in Guatemala. So it's Google Meet, WhatsApp. We use a lot WhatsApp in small groups. And so it has been very adapting what we have and the resources we have to continue teaching the students, and also a lot of responsibility for parents. And it was good because parents got more involved in the children education, and also the teachers have been very patient and very, they are great teachers.
Well, that is fabulous. Thank you for that, for your response, Pastor Karen, and Diego as well in the chat. When I've seen some of the online school pictures that you guys have shared, it's reminded me of what we've done with our daughter in school here in the United States as well, when there have been those times that she's had to be online as well. So God bless you guys as you keep navigating through this. We had another question come in the chat. Joe, let me know if I say this right or if you want to add something to it. Joe asks, can you see any changes in societal expectations for young women related to ILAG, CELOG, and your current and former students? Are the young women able to talk about the benefits of their education with their peers and communities?
Yeah, this is something we have tried to do at ILAG, because all of the ministries are connected through ILAG. So for example, with the leaders, we have the leadership training. So the young women are here in the same compound where the trainings happen. So we have an hour every training with the young women where they share with the leaders what they have learned. So they start talking before the leaders, the older men, about what they have learned, what it means for them. And also we have a gender justice class with the leaders that, because of pandemic, was stopped a little bit, but now we are retaking that class where the leaders are learning about equity, how to work together with women, and how important they are in church and in society and in community and for their families. So we train the leaders with that as well. When we go to communities, we talk about that as well. We encourage the church to send a letter to the young woman is here from their congregation. So they continue connected. And then the young women, when we visit, they send letters to their church home that we read out loud after the worship service. So we try to maintain that connection. And when they go back, they plan their vacation time with some time to teach to children in the community, to young women, and for women if they want, how to bake, children classes, Bible studies, Sunday school, I'm sorry, the Sunday school, and they are in charge of that. So we intentionally, because we know that if we just send them back, they're going to be, this is going to be a waste of time. We need to do something intentional in the congregation and in the community to talk about that in churches. So they are going to be well received. They are not going to be seen as the strange person who comes with no ideas here and believing that she is better than everyone, but also connecting them so they can grow together. And also the young women learn here how to teach. For that reason, we were talking about learning how to teach. Not lecturing someone, but sharing with someone what they have learned. So that is going to be well received. I don't know if that answered the question.
It
No,
did. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Great question, Joe. Appreciate it. And Pastor Carr, and I can second that, what you're saying about teaching the young women how to teach, because I remember when a delegation I was with from Lutheran Church of the Resurrection, before the pandemic hit, some of the young women who had been receiving the technical education at the baking school, they had obviously been studying and learned so much because they taught not only the other young women at Malagro, but they also taught us in our delegation as how to make these Guatemalan sweet rolls. And it was a really wonderful experience, hands-on and yummy, but also a great experience to get to learn from them. So beautiful way that Malagro's working. That's a good thing. We've got another question from Larry Schultz. Larry asks, do you have any contact with the graduates of the Lutheran school and any success stories?
Yeah, we have all kinds of stories, successful and not too successful, and sad stories as well. We have a sad story that a young man who graduated from 6th grade in elementary school was killed by a gang member because he joined a gang. It's very common in the city to have gang members and also in the school. And also we have a student who became a teacher, and we also have a student who became a doctor. The school has been there for 30 years. So we have seen many good stories, sad stories, great stories from the children. And it is good to, one time I was in a grocery store nearby and a girl, I was teaching 1st grade long time ago. And she said, do you remember me? And I had her as a student as 1st grade. And she was a cashier in the grocery store. And I was like, I'm sorry. And she says, I was your student, I am Jacqueline. And I was like, oh, good. So it is when you realize how old you have gotten. And the young women. So yes, we have seen many kids, and it is a beautiful part of the elementary school because it's close by. It's in a neighborhood we know very well. So we are very close to the student. We can follow up on their lives for good and for bad.
Marvelous, marvelous. So I'm glad for those that commitment to relationship that ILAG has. That's a beautiful thing. Dwight asks, you mentioned that there are a variety of languages in Guatemala. When visiting your congregations, do you encounter any language barriers? And if so, how are they overcome?
Yeah, most of the people in the churches speak Quechua. It's a native language. We have one congregation who have 8 different languages. So the common language in the church is Spanish, because if not, they cannot worship together. So, but sometimes with women, with older women, because they are afraid to speak in Spanish, and some of them don't know how to speak in Spanish. The good thing that we have learned is that they understand when we speak. And we have translators, the pastors, the leaders, even a child can translate for us when we are talking with a woman or with an older man. I had experience talking in San Antonio, Texas with one man that had health problems, and he was talking to me, and a young girl was explaining, she was translating for me, and then I was talking to him in Spanish. He could understood me, but he couldn't answer in Spanish. So it is not, we don't consider that a barrier. We consider that a gift that we can learn together and being patient and being flexible. And I would like to learn Kekchi, but I haven't done that. This is very difficult.
Indeed, thank you. Pastor Chris Hermanson asks, are there any suggestions of things we can do to support this ministry and begin to develop community without the ability to travel right now?
Yeah, we always ask your prayers and also your financial support make a big difference in Guatemala. When you send an offering to send a child to school, when you send an offering to support the Milagro Center, to have for 10 months, the 15 young women with feeding, education, materials, and technical education, if you can collaborate for that. Also, if you want to send a leader from a community to get trained in the Lutheran Center, we pay for their transportation, we pay for their food while they're here. And all of those offerings are going to go to that and to support, to develop the education. We understand that sometimes it's very difficult because when we send money, we would like to see a house built, or we would like to see an oven built or a latrine built or something built that we can make sense and is tangible. And this is not tangible, but it is helping people to find their own way to make a living. And it's the difference. And maybe you won't see that physically, but you will see a people achieving their dreams and being able to success in life or do better, not survive, you know. Nobody should survive in society. Everyone should have a dignified life.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Pastor Karin. And we also have a couple of ideas that we'll share with the group right before we close our conversation today. Last call for questions for Pastor Karin and Diego. And while we're waiting for a last call of questions, Pastor Karin and Diego, Guatemala is also famous for coffee. What region of Guatemala has the best coffee? What do you like best?
I used to. O tú contestar primero.
I believe the best region for coffee is the west part of the country, I guess. That's the west, right? Or Coban. Those are my favorites.
All right, very good. Pastor Karin, how about you?
Also Coban. That's my favorite coffee.
All right, wonderful. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. Let's see here. I'm going to share my screen real quick, and I don't see any other questions coming in quite yet. So we will, let me transition over here. If I can get this transitioned right. We are looking at some of the different opportunities and ways for congregations to be involved in the partnership. I'm not sure if you guys are seeing this full screen or not, but here we are. So one of the opportunities is travel, and Pastor Chris, you mentioned this in the question of, can we travel? And there's a possibility for travel in the second half of 2022. We are expecting that we'll have some, at least one Synod-sponsored trip, and that we will possibly have some other congregation travel as well. We are looking initially at having these be just like a Guatemala City focused trip, so that you get to visit the Lutheran Center, the Malagro Women's Center, probably the elementary school, ILAG, and really get a great experience in Guatemala, visiting with the pastoral staff and the team that is there. So we're excited about those possibilities, but they're in the works, and we were hoping to have a lot more ready by this point in time, but y'all know how life is in the middle of a pandemic. So hopefully things are calming down and we'll have more information about that soon. Also, we ask for everybody's prayers. Pastor Karen, you guys at ILAG, you guys pray on a regular basis, Fridays, right?
That is correct.
Wonderful. So one of the things that ILAG invites us to do is to pray for and with them at 4 o'clock on Fridays. And so that's a good opportunity wherever you are, just to stop and pause and give thanks to God for what's going on in Guatemala and the partnership we share. And that's one way you can feel connected and together. Another program that we're launching in Southeastern Synod is, we're calling it the Friends of Malagro program, kind of like the Friends of the Zoo or Friends of the Symphony. So folks who really love that sort of thing. We're inviting congregations to put together a financial pledge. If you want to write a check right away, God bless you. Or if you'd like to say, we'd like to raise some money, that's wonderful. So we're asking congregations to pledge $1,000 to $2,500 or more. You know, if you want to pledge $100,000, God bless you. We'll receive some quarterly updates from ILAG, probably some fabulous Zoom calls and maybe some other great cultural exchanges around food or music. Those are in the works, and that will be part of that program for you and your congregation. And then we also invite those congregations who want to be friends of Malagro to then invite their congregation and involve their congregation in prayer and in communication, so that we can build some more of those relationships. And we also are launching a Guatemala Sunday, so please save the date. It's going to be Sunday, May the 1st. We'll have some more information up on the website, elca-ses.org/ILAG, I-L-A-G. And it'll be a day where we'll have some resources for congregations for prayers to use during the worship services, some opportunities for some things to learn, and also some action items for ways to build connection and relationship, to send greetings to the Lutheran Church in Guatemala, maybe a poster, maybe a card, maybe take a special offering, maybe make a video, lots of different ways to connect it. But save the date for Guatemala Sunday on May 1st, and we'll be sending out some more information shortly. Also, you can be in contact with me, Pastor Stephen Friedrich. Hi, everybody. There's my email, pastor at peacelutheranKnoxville.org, and information on the website where you registered also for this event. So those are some of the next steps, the next ways that you can be involved, and you and your congregation might be able to be involved. So we're glad for that. We're thankful for folks who are able to join today, and blessings for those who had to head out. Before we go, does anybody have any final thoughts or questions? If not, we will close with a word of prayer, and then we'll send people in peace. And if you'd like to stay on for just a minute to say hello for another second, you're welcome to do so. But Pastor Karen, would you be willing to pray for us today?
Yes. Let's pray. Amado Dios de la vida, te damos infinitas gracias por este grupo de hijos tuyos que se comprometen al ministerio en Guatemala. Te agradecemos, Señor, por esta comunión que nos une con tu Santo Espíritu para poder seguir trabajando, sirviendo y transformando un mundo injusto en un mundo de justicia, como tu Hijo Jesucristo lo predicó cuando estuvo entre nosotros. Te agradecemos, Señor, por las bendiciones de la hermandad, del acompañamiento, de caminar juntos, y te pedimos que nos bendiga, Señor, en los diferentes ministerios, trabajos, familias que estamos acá reunidas y en el mundo entero. Te pedimos por un mundo más justo y en paz, en el nombre de tu Hijo, nuestro Señor Jesús. Amén.
Well, thanks everybody for being here. I'm going to stop the recording.